No, you're not.
My name is Rhett. This is good.
No.
Damn it. Hi, I'm Jared. This is Brothers in Dungeons. Oh, that's the one. This is Rhett.
You're not even introduced me.
This is Vin Diesel.
I don't. Hi, I'm Cole. I guess I'll introduce myself. I don't know what we're doing right now. What's happening?
Hi, we're idiots.
We're idiots. You're the one that's giving people names.
Hi, we're doing Reddit stories. We're Brothers in Dungeons, Jared, Cole. We're gonna do some Reddit stories. They're all D&D or TTRPG related D&D stories. I think most of them are from r/RPG Horror Story. Got them all right here. We're gonna live react to them. Have not read them, have not heard them. There's gonna be a couple in the middle. I did read the titles and some of the tags. There's a couple in the middle that get a little real.
Okay.
I will let everybody know what those tags are when we get there. But we're going to jump right in. This is kind of a medium length one. And the title is just, I don't know how to leave. It's tagged with medium. It's kind of a medium length story. We're going to jump right in.
Okay, I'm ready.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You ready at home? I know you are. Okay. This is from Agreeable Rooster 408. This was just 20 days ago. Not an old story. It's a recent one.
Okay.
They begin, okay, this is the first table I've played at that wasn't with family. So for the first few months, every red flag was played off in my head as maybe this is normal for D&D, and I just didn't know that. I'm going to just go out on a limb here and let everybody know if something's a red flag to you, it's a red flag. There's no normal for D&D.
Yeah.
It's whatever the people are doing at that table, and maybe that's just not the right table, but I digress.
Let's find out. Let's find out what red flags are these.
We'll find out what the red flags are. However, things seem more and more unstable or unhealthy to me. At least they're affecting me so much that I wonder if it really is normal.
Mm.
It all started when I addressed the issue that the DM was having pretty intense arguments or disagreements with their significant other at the table during the session.
Ooh.
I addressed it in a direct but not accusatory or rude tone, and it kind of got better. However, it was played off by them as them being together for so long, and that's just the way they operate. I've been with my partner for 13 years, and we don't speak to each other this way, but I digress. Then after this, it seems like everything I do or say is construed in a rude or ill-intended manner by the DM. Then in turn, they respond to everything I do or say in a passive-aggressive or more aggressive way. When I tried to discuss it, because it really affects me negatively, they blamed it on my alleged rudeness and their mental health issues. I myself have mental health issues, but I don't ever use them as a reason to hurt people. Maybe when I was a teenager I did, but not anymore. Not that I'm better than them, it just seemed odd to me. I just don't know what to do. I have become quite close with one member of the group, and our characters are even connected, and I feel so guilty if I quit. I dread the thought of going, and I feel like no matter what I do or say, nothing really gets resolved, and the blame is just put back on me. I'm a busy parent who struggles with chronic illness, etc., etc., and I feel like this is draining the little spare energy I have. Like, why am I still doing it? I have no idea. I'm scared of losing the player who is my friend and causing issues. I just don't know what to do.
Boy.
All right.
That's a hard one. That sucks. I feel that. I feel that too. The whole, like, things that bother me, and I kind of just, you blow them off because you're like, well, maybe, because sometimes I let things bother me sometimes, and I don't bring it up because, like, I don't like confrontation, and I don't like, it's just the thing. So, like, I totally get the whole not wanting to say anything and being scared to say something, but
it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, yeah, and the whole, like, it's hard to tell too from their perspective. Maybe they are coming off kind of rude, and
they could be.
They could be.
You got to remember to take it with a grain of salt.
And they may not realize, like, they're saying, like, oh, they're saying I'm coming off rude, and maybe they really are, and they don't realize the way they're speaking as coming off rude to the DM. But
especially, they say that they have mental health struggles, as many people do. I know I know that I sometimes come off in a way that I'm not intending,
Mm.
and it could very well be that they're coming off in a way they're not intending to. They don't think they are, but they are. Sometimes you got to own up to that if someone tells you.
I also wonder.
But
Yeah, because there's also like there's like they say like the DM and his significant other get in like fights
yeah,
and another thing, and like that's also like what kind of fights are they really like fighting, or is it like play?
Is it a bicker?
Are they play bickering?
Yeah.
'Cause that's also different. Because if they're fighting, like
very
if they're
different
actually
thing.
arguing and stuff about things, and it's
Right.
like and it goes on, yeah, I would also be like, I'm just here to. I don't want to be a part of this.
I want to play video.
I just want to play. I just want to roll dice and hang out. I don't want to sit here and listen to your marital problems.
Yeah.
But but also it could be so. Either way, it just feels like the environment this person is in, like they said, it is draining them mentally.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. They feel mentally negative, and they feel themselves being drained away from. It's just you don't want to be there. You shouldn't be there anyway. It's like having a bad job. I mean, the same thing like that. Like just being any kind of environment. If you're feeling mentally negative. And you're tired from it.
Out of there.
You're actually tired. It's actually making you feel exhausted. Get out of there, yeah.
You shouldn't have to dread going to your D&D game.
It actually be for fun.
Right, that's your fun.
That's the last place.
That's the thing that's supposed to re-energize you, not suck that away.
Yeah.
I also do see we got some YouTube comments. We got from Darwin Award recipient. Wow, a nice non-scam YouTube stream. Well, you know we ain't scamming.
Click on the Temu link. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, we got things to sell you. We're just reading D&D Reddit stories. If you're just joining us, D&D Reddit stories. That's what we're doing. But thanks for the comments. I'm going to keep reading. Their issue here was that they just don't know how to get out. What do? They don't want to lose the one player that they've really gotten close to.
He's got to be honest. I mean, have they talked to their friend first? Have they talked to their friend and been like, "Hey, this is how I feel. This is my feelings. I'm thinking about leaving." Maybe that'd be probably the first place to go. Because I can see also like the adult thing would be sit down with this DM, being like, "Hey, these are the things that have come up a lot of times. I really am considering just leaving," and discussing what can change. Either like, can we change that, or do I just go?
Yeah.
But if what they're describing this DM is true, this DM might retaliate against them. It might just be like, "No, you're out then. I don't want you here," or it might just be a complete douchebag then for the rest of the time until they finally do leave.
Here's something to consider, and I will look down in the comments in a moment. Agreeable Rooster 408, if you're out there. Something to consider is, you say you don't want to cause problems or you don't want to lose your friend who's in the D&D game. Talk to your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them, hey, look, this is not working for me. I'd still like to be friends with you. Maybe we do something outside of this, or maybe you can come with me and find another D&D game. If this one's bothering you too. And then you just get out. You're scared of causing issues. Well, look, if that DM is causing issues with you and they're trying to target you unfairly, you just got to do it. Just take that leap. There's more D&D games.
There really is.
You're going to find one that works for you, and it's going to be fun. Let's look down here in the comments, see if there's any, maybe
OP responded.
See if there's an OP response. Here we go. This guy said, in quotations, "Hey guys, I don't think this table's a good fit for me. I'm going to drop the campaign. Thanks for having me." And to move on. Perfection. That's how you do it. To which they did responded, "That's a good idea. My initial reaction was to give an emotional response. Never do that. Mm-hmm. I'm honestly so exhausted, I just want to give it a direct, to-the-point exit and leave it at that. I've tried so many times to have a mature adult resolution to the issue, and it just goes nowhere. I don't even see the point anymore." Mm-hmm. Just go with what that guy said. Don't do the emotional response.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for fun, and like the fact that they're putting so much effort to make it fun for them is just it's never gonna change. It sucks because I also get it's hard to find a DM sometimes. It's hard to find campaigns, especially like if you don't want to play with strangers. It's like it gets really challenging, and so, but it's never worth your mental health. It just never is.
One more comment for it. This person here says, since you become close with one member of the group, it might be helpful to have a private conversation with them about how you are feeling. They might be experiencing similar issues or have insights into the situation that could be helpful, but for sure, leave this toxic table immediately. To which OP responded, yes, I've talked with them. We are pretty close, but I'm still worried that they're going to have bad feelings towards me if I leave, which is probably my own insecurity. I should trust that they won't. It's probably your own insecurity.
Yeah.
They have sort of similar feelings, but I think the DM treats me differently. And I'm a lot more sensitive and emotional and affects me quite a lot more than my friend. I bet you, if you haven't already left this table, I bet you this person will go with you. Yeah. I bet they will.
I bet they leave, and then the DM gets a stick up his ass, and then he like treats everyone else, including your friend, a lot worse, and then they'll end up leaving too.
We're going to go ahead and move to the next story. First here, somebody said that horse mask eyeball is super creepy.
Where's the horse mask at?
Oh, yeah, it's right behind my shoulder.
It's just staring.
This one?
This is what we practice making out with.
Show them.
This was a...
Ryan's whole arm was in there, remember that?
Yeah.
Look for that skit later. We got it. Oh, we've got such great stuff here. All right, we're going to move on to the next story. This one gets a little spicy. Get it out there. This one has an essay warning.
Yeah.
If you don't want to hear this, maybe
click away.
Click away.
Come back in like 20 minutes.
10, 15, 20 minutes. Hang on, let's see how long it is. It's a long one. It's a long one.
Oh, yeah. Come back in 20.
Come back in about
20 to 25.
20 to a half hour.
Yeah.
Come back then. So let's get that out of the way. Essay warning on this one. Okay. Oh boy, that's a long ass scroll. This is from Drifter Storm. The title is, quote, "Were we the problem?" Here we go.
Let's hear it. I'm ready.
Hi, first time here, so pardon anything wrong with the format. This was a story my friend's husband handed me and asked to post since they don't use Reddit much themselves.
So the friend's husband.
This is the friend's husband's
This is
story.
from a guy's perspective. Okay.
Yes, from a man's perspective. My friend's husband has since given up on D&D, but we think this is still haunting him. Don't like that.
That's oof. Yeah.
Edit to add. I see my friend forgot to mention, but this list of rules was the DM. I don't see anything. I'm sure we're going to hear something about a list of rules.
Yeah.
This list of rules was the DM asking the players what their no's were in the game. He did not want to trigger or cross a line and make his players feel bad. Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
We'll see where that goes.
You should always do that.
The only no my friend and their husband had was what is listed below. Otherwise, they were okay with anything else. This is going to be a long one, hopefully not too long. This is a horror story of how my husband and I were treated in a campaign a while ago.
So my husband. So wait, my husband and I. So is this? So this is this
so
is the.
Is this the friend?
This
then?
is the friend.
This is the friend.
Yeah, they said it's a story their friend's husband gave them.
Okay, so it's the story of the friend. I think it sounds like she or they are in the game with their husband.
Yes.
So I think it's both their perspective.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking at here. This is a horror story of how my husband and I were treated in a campaign a while ago. I will leave a TLDR at the end if you don't want to read the whole thing, but we're going to read the whole thing. Names are not listed to protect identities, as the purpose of this story is not only to help get it off the chest, but to also teach an important lesson in communication. Without communication, respect, and compromise, no campaign will succeed in the long run.
100% true.
Fairly accurate.
That's fairly accurate about most everything in life.
Yeah. Let's begin with finding the post on r/LFG, looking for group, if you don't know. The DM has advertised an interesting homebrew world he created based off a story he was writing. To get this out of the way, this is an inexperienced DM, having only DM'd 2 campaigns. Hey, if you've DM'd 2 full campaigns...
More experience than me, dude.
That's a lot of experience,
More experience than me.
The setting seemed interesting. To keep it simple, a war between 2 nations happened with neither side emerging the victor. What stopped the war was a cataclysmic event because of tampering with forbidden magic that nearly tore the world apart had the gods not intervened.
Okay.
Ever since, magic was forbidden.
Okay.
Except for one city. Pretty cool.
It's cool
Pretty
premise.
cool.
Cool premise.
I like the premise. My husband and I applied for and received a prompt invitation to an interview. I started mixing them. Invitation. During this interview, we went over character sheets. I made a female sorcerer, while my husband made a war-forged artificer, which multi-classed to fighter gunslinger after it had become apparent that his artificer was not able to provide any value to the party due to the power disparity. This is where the conflict started to occur, as my husband began crafting his character with the DM, trying to create an amnesiac character who had fought in the war many years prior to the start of the campaign. But after a long discussion, the sheet was completed with his approval. Our character backstories tied our characters together as a sort of bodyguard and protected, a big brother and little sister dynamic. One of our absolute no-nos was the DM taking away player agency, charm, mind control, etc. I also mentioned no ERP or unsolicited advances. I will note my husband has trauma around people who tried to control him in his life. After the interview, we waited a day before the DM decided the roster of 7 players. This should have been where my husband and I decided to bounce, but we decided to wait and see how session 0 went. The party consisted of 2 barbarians, 2 artificers, 1 warlock, 1 rogue, and 1 sorcerer. As it turns out, session 0 went splendidly. We all got along well, had a good time, and picked up a little quest for the next session. Session 1 is where the problems began to arise and stack up over the course of the campaign. When you need to plan encounters around 7 players, things get hectic. We know.
Yeah.
Check out The Last Legend over on Facebook, Brothers in Dungeons. The 7 player, things get hectic and overwhelming. My character was almost killed in an encounter with at least 10 enemies, even though I was positioned in the rear of the formation. My husband's character kept rolling unlucky and getting critical failures for his attack rolls. The DM decided that each of those failed rolls resulted in his character missing where he was aiming with his crossbow and hitting another party member.
Oh, really? Is that what happens?
Is that what happens?
You're on that one.
That's crazy, bro.
You shoot somebody you care about?
We're staring at B, who is our DM. After the session was over, we talked to the DM about this, as it was something my husband disapproved of hitting another party member. It was resolved after that and didn't happen again. What we should have specified back then as well was we didn't like friendly fire, whether it was coming from us or other players. This will come back again later. I'm going to do one little side note. It's okay to not like things, but getting as specific as I can't ever hurt my party member, that feels a little too specific.
I think it depends. I mean, if they're talking about like, hey, I don't like me, if I'm not doing something that in the rules would not affect an ally, and you're gonna make it affect an ally, but like, you know, obviously, but if they're like, I'm casting fireball, but I don't want friendly fire, it's like,
right.
Well, that's on you though, because the spell says
that's what the tone feels like, is that it can't ever.
Yeah, like that. There's a line. Like I can understand being like, I cast, you know,
right with the nat one. That's not actually
one.
the
I shoot
rule.
Somebody's like, hey, I don't really like that. It kind of feels shitty, you know.
Yeah, that's not.
I already feel bad for missing. Now I'm also hurting an ally.
Yeah, but there's a line. There is a line. My husband had been approved by the DM to craft guns in the campaign. Important to note that the DM said gunpowder was rare. My husband would have to figure it out through the DM's instructions on how to make the gun. It was settled on charged crystals being the power source for this gun, but they would be extremely hard to make. The ability on how to make them kept changing and being inconsistent to the point it was causing frustration between the DM and my husband. The DM was heavily making him rely on another player for help in crafting these stones, despite being competent enough on his character sheet. My husband's character and this other player's character did not like each other in the game due to the persistent antics of this player's character to put their party in danger. Example, using fireball to attack the group of enemies while allies were still in the radius and putting a few of them at 0 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
Come session 3, we raid a bandit camp after being tipped off that they were robbing caravans to start up an international conflict. Our goal was, of course, to find out who hired them when raiding. When the raid was concluded, we discovered a cave near the bandit camp. Deep within the cave, we fought an evil druid who had been sacrificing animals on an altar to create magic-infused gems. I wasn't aware of this at the time, but the DM told my husband that the caged creatures near the altar could be used to make more magic crystals. Of course, he wasn't going to do this and gave up an opportunity to make his gun, which added to the frustration. After searching for the camp for anything that could be used as a magic gem, the DM finally has him find a diamond. The DM then says that either my character or any of the other magic users in the party would infuse the gem with magic. I gave him a guiding bolt spell to infuse the gem with. When my husband got the chance to make his gun, the gem would be invaluable for making a magic gun. Makes sense, it's got guiding bolt in it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool. My husband was able to find another gem along our travels. He finished his prototype gun and infused one of the 2 gems inside. Sadly, this gun was destroyed. Oh, no. This gun was destroyed when he tried to take the first shot. That's a little dirty. Come on. We had entered a friendly NPC manor.
Friendly NPC's manor. Okay.
Yeah, I think they meant man. The spelling was wrong. A friendly NPC's manor, their home. We were being hosted there before they snuck us out of the city. During this day, we accidentally opened a portal to somewhere and were unable to close it, as D&D parties tend to do. The enemies the rest of the party were fighting, kept returning after being dealt with. Despite my husband's pleas for help to power the gun from the other players, they promptly ignored him to continue their fight. He was able to fire a very powerful blast with mine and another NPC's help that resulted in destroying the portal and all that remained of his gun. The party completely ignored these efforts and pretended it had closed on its own. That's pretty dirty of the party.
What the hell? What?
What is going on with this party
Yeah,
right
why
now?
would you... What?
This gun would never be made, as a series of events forced my husband to give up the gem to create a diversion for our party to escape a hunting party sent by the kingdom. My husband was able to craft a plan for the party to get through the city without being detected by the hunting party. He had me overcharge the gem with magic to create an improvised explosive. After escaping, my husband just sighed at losing the rare gem and was a bit upset that certain party members didn't recognize the sacrifice he had made to create the party's escape opportunity, but he let it go for the sake of keeping the peace. For us to escape the hunters, we had stolen a ship. We were setting sail for my character's home where magic was not outlawed. Along the way, another incident sparked conflict between my husband and the above-mentioned player that he did not get along with. During a hectic battle to preserve the ship from unknown entities, the player cast Fireball and caught the party in the AoE radius again. This time, my husband's steel defender was incinerated and the DM said he would not be able to repair it. Just to note, my husband was playing the Battlesmith subclass of Artificer. He would be left without a steel defender for a while until the DM and him came to an agreement on how to build a new one. We also discovered on the ship that they had a large gunpowder stock they were unwilling to talk to my husband about. Like to note that up until this point, my husband's character had been getting ignored by the party. Even given his multiple attempts to naturally open up RP between him and them, the only time he ever saw them approach him was to ask him to clean up a huge mess they made of the captain's quarters while he was trying to help the NPCs repair the upper decks from an attack we had undergone. The boat. Okay, I was like, wait, what do you mean? The boat, the boat. The NPCs were also ignoring him and did nothing to acknowledge his help with the repairs. My husband refused to cover for their thief and snooping and were snooping where they should not have been. Instead, we wanted them to come clean first with the captain of the ship, which they refused and got upset at my husband for doing what they had asked of him. Fast forward to us making it to my character's home, and this is where things start to reach a climax in the story. The DM wanted us to enter a tournament. But my husband's character had no reason to get involved and wanted to seek out a contact. After much discussion, the DM would give a gun to his character. This puzzled him since he was under the impression that he would be crafting it once he got the necessary ingredients and components. The response was, just go with it. Trust me, bro. It's that trust me, bro energy.
Oh my gosh.
Once again, the fireball-loving magic user committed friendly fire during this tournament, and the DM allows it to happen. My husband had an encounter with an NPC from his past with some odd information. It turned out that the DM had tuned out when my husband had made his backstory and just recreated the backstory afterwards. My husband slightly went with it just to keep the peace. I had not known this was happening at the time, and while in the tournament waiting area, we encountered the tribe of the barbarian. My husband's character all out the tribe for abandoning their own and standing up for their barbarian. This did nothing to strengthen any connection or invite RP between them later on. Sorry, the writing is getting a little sloppy. I'm having to.
Yeah. The more and more they're writing, the more and more they're misspelling stuff.
It sounds like they're getting upset, which is fair.
Yeah.
I have a brief, uncomfortable encounter in the city's inn where a patron tries to flirt with my character, breaking one of my rules of not wanting unsolicited advances. Instead of focusing on it, the other player that was mentioned already decided to flirt with them. Cue another uncomfortable situation where that player character and the touchy NPC go upstairs. We're given a descriptive scene of the behind doors scenario before it finally faded to black. At this point, I'm no longer tuned into this session. In between the sessions, my husband and I go out to seek a jeweler as part of our out-of-session activities. Well, it turned out that this jeweler had his other motives, and we were blissfully unaware of them, nor had any suspicion of these motives. We were under the impression that since this was my character's home city, there would be no reason to suspect a reputable shop. Fast forward to our final session with this DM, the jeweler ended up charming my character with a cursed necklace, then, against my husband's wishes, did the same to his character with a cursed mask. He had been restrained while suffering a PTSD attack, so he had no choice in the matter since his character was unable to do anything. We had enough and dropped the campaign. I didn't realize till later, but my husband was struggling to enjoy the campaign and had been wanting to leave a lot sooner due to thinking he was the issue player. Due to his constant back and forth with the DM had grown tired of him, asking him to leave the campaign because he just did not want to deal with this anymore. My husband agreed and left without a hassle after multiple attempts and trying to work it out. The main tension had been over how my husband would craft the gun. He never brought up with the DM any issues with the players. Later on, wondering why the DM agreed to let him play such a character. I also learned that my husband had asked the DM if he wanted him to change characters to something better suited to this DM's game. He'd gotten confirmation that his character had been okay. TLDR, the DM made our experience in their campaign less than satisfactory by breaking some of our established boundaries and disregarded some elements of our character stories, but the other players seemed to be enjoying themselves. Were we the problem?
I will say, halfway through that, I was thinking, I think the DM people just want her husband to, or their husband to go. I'm assuming it's a her because she played a female character. That's what I'm going to assume. I'm going to assume
we'll
that.
assume.
It sounds like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, it really, the way that no one's wanting to engage with him, it kind of feels like they're like, we want you to leave. We don't want you a part of this. Um,
is really weird, and that feels very personal.
yeah.
Because it sounds like the character was actively trying.
Yeah, and this is just from her point of view. We don't know everything else, but just from her point of view, obviously the DM crossed some boundaries. Should not have taken control of, like, that was a big thing. They were like, hey, we don't want to hear ERP. We don't want to get scripted. I don't want solicited advances on me. And the husband's like, hey, I have an issue personally. I don't like being put under control. I don't like my agency being taken away from me. So that's a big thing for me. Okay, all good. And then he said, I'm going to ignore all that. And maybe that was his way of being like, I want you gone. I'm going to break all these rules because I want you to leave.
I'm going to break all your rules. Fuck you.
So it is. You should never. I don't know. It just feels like, I don't know why the DM couldn't just be like, you're out. Why the DM ask him? Should have just said, hey, I don't want you in this campaign anymore. You're out. You and your spouse are both out.
We don't like you. We don't vibe with you.
We don't vibe with you anymore. We're realizing that it's just not working.
It's a big campaign anyway. Just
Yeah.
Take a hike.
Also, screw friendly fire guy who every time because I hate people like that who purposely are like
purposely and continuously.
Oops, it's so funny. Yeah. I'm going to hurt everybody, and it's like it's not. It's not cute. It's not funny.
There are definitely moments when you can do it and possibly even should do it. Yeah. But being like, oh, haha, fireball, you shouldn't have been there.
I don't care.
Haha, like, I'm not going to make any effort.
And like, it's obviously not a character quirk, because usually you would grow up. That's character growth would be later on. He'd be like, oh, I do care about these people. I don't want to hurt them.
Right.
But it feels like the player just thought it was funny. It's like, I'm funny, I'm silly, I'm quirky.
Trying to explode.
I commit friendly fire.
Trying to explode your comrades is not a character quirk. It's just not. It's not a character quirk. If you're doing that in your game, if everybody at your party likes it and thinks it's funny, it's fine.
They keep doing it.
It's fine then.
But if people are audibly...
Most tables...
Yeah, especially if they're audibly being like, hey, this really is annoying. I don't like that you do this constantly. Yeah. And like, you're not willing to be like... Because at first, if you're like, well, my character doesn't really care, and it's like, then you have to, as the character, figure out how your character now cares not to hurt people. The whole that's what my character would do.
Yeah.
The character is not a real person. You made this character. You figure out a way to figure out how that changes. Like you do that.
Now there's certainly a world where there's a world where you can start that way and then have your character grow out of it. That's character development.
Growth. Yeah, and that's how I would do it too. If you like that was your idea and then people are like, we don't like this, it's okay. Yeah. I'm going to quickly find a character growth moment and try to find a way where it is not an issue anymore, and I want to do that. And and that could have been a moment. Also, I feel for him with the whole like crafting system. I think anytime a player and a DM want to when a DM wants to introduce a crafting system into their game,
it's always rough.
It's rough, but they, for one, have to stick by it. They can't change things later on. Once they give the rules, they have to follow those rules.
Yeah. It's not fair otherwise.
Yeah. And like she mentioned, they mentioned earlier where the DM was like, oh, there's these creatures, I guess, that he could kill to get more crystals out of them. I guess there's some kind of crystal-like creature. And his character was like, well, I don't want to do that. That the DM should have talked to him and been like, because I guess he told him, he should have mentioned, hey, how does your character feel? Well, he should have been like, hey, there's these creatures that have crystals in them. And then the husband should have been like, I don't think my character would hurt another creature to get the crystal. That's not him. He wouldn't do that. So that might have been on the husband. The husband should have probably voiced that and been like, I don't think my character would do that.
Yeah.
And they should have figured it out. There's a good chance he said, there's a creature, there's going to be crystal in this creature, you just got to kill him, you'll get a bunch of crystal. And the husband went, oh, okay. And then when it got to the moment, the husband's like, I'm not going to do anything. And the guy's like, I gave you...
There was your opportunity.
There was your opportunity. So, like, that's what it kind of sounds like. Is some of these things feels like there actually wasn't a lot of communication on, like, what was actually bothering the husband. And even though, it's not his fault he's getting bothered by it, but it's also his fault if he doesn't communicate it. And that's what it kind of sounds like, is that at some point he just stopped communicating and was letting it drain his mental energy.
Yeah. It's just a weird table. And much like the last one, you got to know when to cut and run. Obviously, this was just not happening if especially if these players,
especially being ignored and you're putting out the effort to actually be a part of stuff.
And at no point in there are they saying that these players are acting like the actual people, the players are not being friendly. At no point. They're not like, well, my characters are disinterested in each other, but we hang and we're talking and everything's cool now. That didn't seem to be the case, except in the first session, everything was fun.
Yeah.
And then all of that dropped. And much like the first story, cut and run. If this is happening to your table, it's not a good table, and you don't want to be there. It might be fine for the rest of them. The DM is obviously inexperienced and what's the word I'm looking for? Just a little. They're not being straightforward.
Yeah,
like if you don't want them there anymore, just tell them.
Also, this is just me personally. Anytime, even if someone says no one says no to it, if you are considering to do things like SA or like self-harm or anything that's super trigger, like things that we know as normal people we know is super triggering. Even if someone puts that as a no, that should still be a question to the players at the table. You should still be like, hey guys, would you feel comfortable? Like, how does this make you feel like if this happens in the story? And if they go, and that should be asked. Because I feel like, because to me, that's a no-brainer. If I was DMing, I'm not into that. I'm not ever going to do that. It's not a thing. I don't want that. I don't like it. But I understand some people like really dark, twisted stories, and so they want that stuff to come up. Maybe it's a way of like therapy to like maybe deal with some trauma from that. But always should be a question. It should always just be a question.
Yeah, just in general.
It just feels like
essays.
Yeah, just because like if I ask you like, hey, what do you not want on your sandwich? And you just specify like not mayonnaise. Does it mean I'm like, okay, well he's cool and he's spitting on it then?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's how it is.
I'm gonna rub my balls on.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a pube in there. He didn't say no. He didn't want pubes in it, and so it's just I feel like that's you would ask that. You would make sure.
I will say that they tag this with essay warning, and they had said that unsolicited advances was a thing that they didn't want.
Yeah. They said the guy was feely touchy, so I'm assuming they left out like I guess him touching up on him.
Yeah,
so I guess they might not have. The tag is probably there just to be safe, so no one. They were just trying to be like, hey, there's a point where this guy's gonna. I'm kind of half mentioned. This guy touches up on my character.
Yeah, but that's certainly not cool.
Yeah,
if you've explicitly been like, don't do that.
I don't want. Yeah, I don't know why you would. So that's I really think the DM just couldn't own up and tell him to leave, and I think the DM was actively trying to run them out of the campaign.
I think so too.
I think that's what was going on, and the DM sucks. He's a douchebag. Grow up, grow some balls. Just be like, hey, it ain't working out.
So the best comment here, and I think one of the only ones that the OP has responded to. This guy says your DM obviously showed his inexperience. First, with trying to create more of a hassle on making the gun instead of just saying your husband's character has one. A big number like 7 can work, but not for one that's still in the shallow end of the pool of DMing. Your DM should also have taken notes in regards to backstories and issues, because we all forget things from time to time, and having it somewhere that everyone can see helps in the event of a scene occurring that shouldn't have. Also very true. Sometimes we're going to forget little things like that. I can't remember all of the things that might upset Cole. I can't remember all of the things that might upset Ryan with his character. I fucking can barely remember the things that upset me. So... as a DM, you're going to forget a couple of those things. Keep notes. Have a little notebook with maybe those specific, like, hey, don't mention these things. Try to avoid these things. Or if it's something is approaching this territory, maybe breach it before the session. Like, hey, guys, we're kind of coming up on this thing. I can retool it if you don't like it. But here's this thing, and it's kind of in the vein of something that might make us uncomfortable. That's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do.
If you're that DM, if you're that guy at home, if that was you, DM, grow up a little bit.
And communicate.
That's all you got to do. It sounds like the rest of it was probably cool, but you were being a dick to some people, and you shouldn't have. We're going to go to the next story. How do you feel about that one? What's your final thoughts?
Final thoughts on that one? I feel lucky that I don't have to find strangers to play D&D with. Even that's what I did.
That is what you did. But we're not strangers now. Now we keep him locked in this basement.
I feel lucky that I am a talented actor and everyone does what I want.
Hell yeah, bro. This one has self-harm warning on it.
Oh, great. All right, well.
So
welcome back if you left for the SA trigger.
If you left for the SA trigger.
Welcome to the self-harm trigger.
This is the self-harm trigger.
Yeah, so if the self-harm triggers you, again, how long does this one look?
This one here is
also
looking...
It's just as long as the last one.
Bro.
So take about 20, 30-minute break, come back.
If you don't want to hear the self-harm. And very, very top thing I see, warning for suicide, suicidal ideation, emotional abuse, and stalking.
Yeah.
If those things
trigger you,
make you squeamish,
come back.
Come back. We'll have two, I believe, lighter-hearted stories. That's what they seem to, with their tags and everything, seem to be afterwards.
Yeah, we'll have a cleanser.
If you're ready for this ride,
lock in.
Lock in. This one is from Orphe 20 days ago. DM takes his pain out on his players, then turns stalker.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Woo, buddy. This is gonna be a one. It's gonna be juicy.
I'm ready.
Here we go. Lock in. Get your cup of cocoa. Because here we go. I joined a nightmare of a game a short while ago, and the fallout from it followed me after. I started watching a streamed D&D game that was DM'd by a friend. Hey, check out The Last Legend on Brothers in Dungeons. We're not these guys! But we also stream a D&D game.
On Facebook on Sundays.
On Facebook.
2:30 Eastern.
We only get mildly annoyed at each other sometimes.
I've had to yell a lot. I'll let you know. I don't stand down. The husband from the last story was, I kept the peace. Me, no. I'm like, oh, really? Is that where? Yeah. Anyway, continue.
We get mildly annoyed at each other. But look, it's just a game. I started watching a stream D&D game that was DM'd by a friend and had several other friends in it. The DM announced at the end they were going to do a new campaign, and I asked to play since I wanted to spend more time with the people involved. He helped me make a character, and the first few months of playing were really fun. Looking back, however, there were a ton of red flags I either ignored or didn't realize because of my inexperience.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The campaign started as a series of arena battles, a kill or be killed kind of game.
Okay.
We all agreed to this, but it often felt like the DM thought it shouldn't apply to him. The DM said he was tired after working and wasn't in the headspace to write up stories. Being chronically tired myself and never having been a DM before, I thought nothing of it. I was still kind of new to playing TTRPGs. We often stomped him in combat due to several factors. The kill or be killed thing, his waiting till the last minute to work on his game, and a refusal to use resources to help him with the balancing out of combat. He was shown how to figure out balancing more than once by other more experienced players. And he kept trashing it because he didn't like accepting help. Sounds like we've got a real dude bro DM here. A little bit of that toxic masculinity. His first kill happened when the sorcerer rolled a critical fail. And while I don't remember all the details, it felt like less of a consequence of a dice roll and more like a punishment for angering the DM. The sorcerer had been pushing the DM B forgot to turn off her alarms, didn't she? That's our alarms.
I thought I was like, we were going to totally the premise.
Get out of here.
Who are you? Who are you in my house?
Sorry, we've been live streaming from Bill Gates' basement.
Pool house basement.
His pool house, just his pool house. His real house is much harder to break
There's
into.
Another fence there. There's a lot of windows.
Where was I? His first kill happened when the sorcerer rolled a critical fail, and it felt like less of a consequence of a dice roll and more of a punishment for angering this DM. The sorcerer had been pushing the DM to accept help, and while I agree with the sorcerer's point, they had kept trying to override the DM saying no. This was something the sorcerer did often, both in and out of game, deciding that they knew better than the other person and overriding what that person wanted. Okay, so we got
so a little tip there. If you're a player and you think you know better, more like if your DM's doing stuff that you just are not agreeing with, and you're like, I'm not enjoying this, and you keep trying, just leave. Just leave. It's not the game for you anymore. It's like, hey, you're not experienced enough. This is a nightmare. I'm out.
And you can take other steps in between. Like there's an in between of like, don't argue with this person in the game.
You're adults. If the guy
do it afterwards.
Yeah, if the guy's saying no, I don't want help. That's just what it is. You can't just make him take help.
If you're talking to them out of session and trying to be generally helpful, and they're still just not. You're not going to get anywhere by trying to rules lawyer them. It's just not. It's not going to work.
DM shouldn't take his anger on the character, but
yeah,
the sorcerer,
for sure.
Sorcerer definitely could have been more of an adult about how to handle that.
Yeah, you're fighting a tantrum with a tantrum.
Yeah,
and that just never works. It never works. Let's see. Deciding they knew better at the time. I thought that maybe it was just both of them being assholes and shrugged it off to the side. We played for a bit more without too much incident. The occasional complaint and snide remark from the DM or the sorcerer. After a while, the DM got bored of the arena battles and moved the campaign to be more story-driven. We probably should have had a session 0 to discuss changes in the campaign, but at the time, I didn't know that was a thing. That's fair. A lot of people don't know that.
A lot of people
even do that. People just show up and
a lot of DMs expect you to show up and enjoy their story.
The DM began to get increasingly angry that things weren't going his way and being stomped in combat. He blamed us as the players for it, even though he still waited until the last minute to prepare, wasn't using his resources like the DMG, wasn't revisiting anything to change the dynamic of the game. Not to say it was completely his fault. We players might have pushed to change the kill or be killed bull, but he wasn't taking responsibility for his part in what was happening. After an extremely easy boss battle, the DM angrily threw a Mind Flayer at us, along with some sort of construct when the sorcerer's wild magic surge went off. I don't remember our levels or the levels of the Mind Flayer or the construct, but was told later by an experienced DM that the Mind Flayer alone was way above what our characters should have been able to handle. This DM, man.
Yeah, this is the DM. My first DM went to, I forget what con they went to, but they went to a con, and they went to a panel where it was like this guy giving DM tips, and he gave the worst DM tip I've ever heard, which was a game of TTRPG, especially like D&D, where it's a war-based game, battle-based game. It is a DM versus player game. And that is the worst mentality, I think, even for a war game.
Yeah.
Like you're not the point if you think about DMing, and your idea of enjoyment of DMing is like I get to beat the crap out of people, you're not a good DM. You should not be DMing. That you should be just stay as a player. A DM's enjoyment should be from the player's enjoyment. It should be seeing the aha moments, or like, wow, that was really cool, or wow, that was intense. But if you're getting mad because you're losing these things, and so you got to start bullshitting stuff to win, you're not playing TTRPGs right.
A lot of newer players and DMs who are getting into D&D right now in the last 5 to 10 years, they're getting into it, and they're also trying to equate it to like video games, where there's a tangible I win, you get a victory screen, you get the end stats where you have the highest damage in League of Legends. That's not what TTRPGs are.
Yeah. TTRPGs have changed a lot just in the last like decade. They've changed a lot, because I would say 3.5 D&D was more of a war game. It was more. And like especially older D&Ds is like, is more of like an actual like we're here just fighting. It's about combat, and it wasn't until 5th edition. It wasn't really until Critical Role. It was till Critical Role finally started showing people like, hey, you can have a fun experience and be just a big narrative shared experience, and that's where Obviously, we see like D&D 1 coming out, or whenever that's coming out, is going to be more of a narrative approach. Other TTRPGs have come out more narratively. So,
and that's the thing is, if you want a big combat game, you can have that,
mm.
but it's still not. It's me versus them.
No,
because if the DM wants to win, the DM can always win.
Yeah,
it's
if you're
it's not
if,
there's,
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
it's not a fair
if
game.
If you're thinking like video games, you are the developer. You
Right.
are not the enemy player.
Exactly. You are trying to make a good and balanced encounter. Hey, if your stuff keeps getting stomped,
Time to up it.
just
Figure
up
out the
it.
balancing.
You got to figure it out. It's not that hard.
It's really not.
Let's be real. It's not
This
that
was
hard.
posted 20 days ago. There is so many resources online now.
So many.
I mean, you go to
It's
biggest
this
one,
DM's fault.
dndbeyond.com. Yep. You can go. They have a thing.
They have an encounter
thing.
balancer.
There's websites like what is it called? Something like
Kobold Press.
Not Kobold Press. It's something Kobolds where like you can actually go in and be like, I have these many players at these levels. No, it has Kobold in the name.
I think Donjon does have that too.
But it will just give you a random encounter based on those things. It will tell you like this should be adequate.
This should work.
Tons, especially this guy's like a last minute preparing. That's such an easy tool,
and it's totally fine if you're an impromptu DM. There are a lot of DMs that excel at being impromptu.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a little, and that's what it sounds like. The campaign is. It's less. It's
structured.
Less structured.
It's very much on the spot.
It's on the fly, and that's okay. The way Alan DMs, that's very much his DMing style, is impromptu, but he's very good at it. And this DM is not learning from his own mistakes.
No.
Look, if you threw how many players were there in this? I don't remember. If there's 5 players and you threw 5 goblins at them and they destroyed them, then next time make it 7 goblins.
Yeah.
And if that one was a little closer, but they still got stomped a little bit, up their HP by a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, this is not rocket science. You don't have to look in the book and see a goblin with 13 AC and 20 HP and run that. You can give him 25 and 15 AC. Mm-hmm. It's not that hard. This guy is being a deliberate ass at this point.
Yeah.
Let's see. We'll keep it going. There's still quite a bit more. Without going into too many details, I've been going through a rough patch personally. I had an emotional spiral over it, both the timing and the fact that the DM took his anger out on me. While the rough patch did have a huge part to play, I now have learned that killing your players just because you're angry at them is a deal breaker for me. That should be a deal breaker for anyone.
Anyone, yeah.
Anyone ever.
Yeah.
It's even worse when the DM is partially responsible for creating that environment and placing the blame on the players and taking it out on them. In a private conversation, I told the DM that under no circumstances was he to use a mind flayer in a game I was in ever again. Shortly after that conversation, we wound up taking a break for a couple of months for us as players to decide on how to approach the DM. Everyone had a problem with him at this point, even the players he hadn't killed. It seems silly now, but at the time, we didn't want the game to end. We wanted to see if our DM could be talked with about the problems in the campaign. And that's really nice of them to try and give it that much regard. I wouldn't have. I unfortunately took it upon myself to advocate for our DM despite being in a spiral as a weird trauma response. I tried to simultaneously keep a dogpile from happening while also trying to leave my shit out of the group conversation. I was trying to put the spiral behind me, wasn't doing a good job of it. Not the best or healthiest of responses. I admit I should have left the group chat and the game immediately. At least you're self-aware of that now. We all live and learn. Things seemed to go all right until after a few more sessions when we came back from the break, until he decided he wanted to do a special one-shot for Halloween.
Okay.
He put us in a room with an angry entity that wanted us all dead and TPK'd the party. Jesus. He spent the next week bragging, but also stated he was happy that we could all feel what it was like to be stomped in combat. Weird. Still find it strange that he wanted so badly for his games to be kill or be killed. But we would get angry when he was at the he would get angry when he was at the receiving end of it. I finally realized that I was not going to have fun if I continued playing with him, so I left, stating that I hadn't had fun in a few months. I later heard that the group had mostly gone their separate ways after I did. Fast forward to the next Halloween.
I forgot about this.
A
Okay.
multi-year.
So
Fast
another
forward
year, so a whole another year.
a whole nother year. Fast forward to the next Halloween. I think this DM was having trouble finding players for his newest one-shot because he asked if I would play in it. I shouldn't have said yes, but we started talking about details, possible dates we'd be playing on. In a private voice chat, he told me he was going to be running a dungeon based on the Daedra Vermena. I don't know what that is. Is that Skyrim?
Yeah,
Just
it sounds
Daedra?
like Elder Scrolls.
Is
Yeah.
that some Elder Scrolls? During the conversation, he asked me if I remembered the Mind Flayer, and I laughed about it because he remembered how hurt I was. I'm certain he was testing the waters to see if he could get away with putting it into the one-shot, but was doing so in a way that gave him plausible deniability. It took me a bit, but shortly before the game started, I told him I wasn't in a place to play the game and backed out. Around that time, there was some other fishy out-of-game things that made me feel like the best move was to walk away completely from this friendship. The DM bragged about being petty and vindictive, and at that point, I didn't trust him not to use anything I said as ammunition to come after me. I blocked him and either kicked him out of spaces or walked away from them depending on the situation. I did so without a word. Good for you. Good for you. That's a really excellent way to do it. I have some memory issues and forgot to change a password or two and didn't get around to blocking him everywhere, even though I'd made a list to try and prevent loopholes. I probably need to mention that he'd been playing in my campaign until the Fallout. One of those spaces was my virtual table on Fantasy Grounds, where I had forgotten to change the password to get in. For my players to log into this virtual table, I had to be logged in first. He waited until about an hour after the end time of my game and logged into the table. He knew I'd be alone and working on notes with my session. Scared, I went to my social media accounts and privated all of them. Within a day, I got a follower request from a sock account he'd made the day after I'd kicked him out of my life. The only thing on the account were an introduction post and a YouTube video, Cancered by My Chemical Romance. I suppose he wanted me to feel guilty about walking away, but due to abusive relationships in the past, all it made me feel was anger. He used several accounts and several social media sites to get around blocks and spy on me, as well as a handful of other people. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. He sent a PayPal to another friend to get around a block when those two had a falling out. I and this other friend had been harassed by this DM for months at that point, and I got angry, so I decided to report him on one of his main accounts. That sounds very appropriate. I'd possibly report him to the police as well. When I did a quick search to find something easily reportable, one of the suggestions was him talking about the one shot where he TPK'd our D&D group. He stated that the reason he wanted to kill his players was that he was taking his suicidal ideations and role-playing with them out on us. So these were things he was feeling inside, and he was literally throwing his pain at them.
Yeah.
I was furious. I took a screenshot and posted it on my account, stating that I would not have joined any of his games if I'd been aware of this when he was pulling it. I tried my best to find a balancing between getting over what had happened and trying to let other people know that it's something he'd been using his D&D games for. While I'm certain that post was made with only his one shot in mind, he'd been wanting to kill our characters throughout the campaign. I'm sure that he'd been taking out his ideations out on us from the beginning. I'm not sure how to wrap this up. I don't think I'll be convinced that the harassment is completely over until it's been at least a year of not hearing from this guy. I'm still running my campaign and it's still going strong. I keep communication open between them and me, and if I'm having too bad of a night, I just cancel. I'm extremely picky about who I play with now, even if it's a friend. I hope that if the DM is still doing what he was before, his players get out for their own sake instead of giving a chance after chance like I did. Hopefully, if anything like this comes up again around me, I won't ignore the red flags. And maybe just putting this out into the screaming void lets me finally get over it.
Gosh.
That's a saga.
Dude, I grew 10 years older. That's crazy. That's insane.
That guy needs therapy.
He really does. Like, and it's so sad that's so common in the D&D space. I mean, just in nerd space, really, in general.
Yeah.
But especially like in
nerds.
TTRPGs, and D&D is just the most popular one. But
yeah,
you find a lot of players or DMs who they have a lot of, like I was talking about, they have a lot of like trauma about something, or they're going through something, and they decide that they're gonna make it their own therapy through D&D, and especially when it's traumatic like that, they don't let anybody know, and so then it feels gross.
You get blindsided.
Yeah, it feels gross for everyone else. I remember, I'm not gonna go in detail, and I'm not gonna name. I was DMing one time, a campaign that never got finished, and this guy that was a stranger that wanted to play. He'd been in the community for a little bit. I was doing it for. It's like, yeah, you can play with us, and he handed me in his backstory, and it was just riddled with SA stuff. Riddled with it, and I told him flat out, I was like, I did not feel comfortable doing that in the campaign. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't comfortable role playing that out. I wasn't comfortable potentially playing like characters who have been SAers. I just didn't want to do it, and it really frustrated him. But it just, it wasn't safe, but at least he was on, and I do think now he was trying to get through some trauma.
Trying to work through.
He was trying to work through something that happened to him in his past, and he decided that because it was riddled. It was riddled with it. And so it just, it's get some therapy. I mean, that's just the thing of it. Don't use your game unless like it is communicated.
Right.
Then, but you shouldn't be doing it to strangers who have no idea.
Yeah.
You shouldn't blindside people with it.
Don't blindside anyone with anything that can be upsetting. just try not to do that.
No.
Sometimes people don't think of it, and for like the third story in a row, here's your warning. Don't blindside people with things that might make them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Just give people a heads up. That's the easiest thing in the world. How we doing on the old TikTok? Plugging along? Hell yeah, that's the
B doesn't want to talk. She does it all day on Sundays at 2:30 p.m.
At 2:30
I
p.m.
don't mind
Eastern.
talking. There's nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
This guy he really needs some therapy,
Yeah.
and like he's not off the hook. You're doing some weird
and that's
bad
scary
stuff.
too. That like he started
Stalking.
harass,
Yeah, straight up stalking,
harassing this person.
Get help, brother. I hope you're out there, and maybe these words hit you, and maybe you've gotten some help.
Maybe
you probably need it.
Maybe you're a different person now.
Yeah. If you're not, this is the thumbs up from Jerad to go seek help. You have the man approval. I'm a big manly man. You don't have to feel bad about getting therapy. It's a little Elvis-y.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Elvis.
Big manly man.
Elvis probably also needed therapy.
Elvis needed therapy as well. It's okay to get therapy. You can still be a man and get therapy. A lot of men think that way. It's toxic masculinity.
It's toxic masculinity. But you're not. Well, the same thing with like he didn't want any help. Like that's also a big sign. Men think that
a lot of men think
you're
that
supposed to
way.
do things on your own and not get help from anybody.
You don't have to be a rock anymore.
No.
Unless you live in like a third world war-torn country, maybe you have to be a rock there. But this sounds like you're probably in America or Canada, and you don't have to.
Yeah.
There's resources. You don't have to do it alone. Get help. I wish we had a number we could put on screen. Right now.
Put Jared's personal cell number. No,
don't
call him.
I'm not gonna. Honestly, that wouldn't hurt me at all. I don't answer anyone's text messages or pick up the phone. I don't. It's not gonna happen. You could put it on screen right now. It wouldn't matter. I hope he gets his help because he needs it. Any good comments? Any responses from the OP? Here we go. This guy said, I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah.
Many DMs running a campaign lack experience and sound judgment. It sounds like this DM put you through a hell of a campaign. The great thing is that you can learn from his mistakes. Being an adversarial DM is bad for the game, going along with what you said. It's fun to have a DM that can play as the adversary in a situation, but then cheer for the players when they win. See, when I DM, that's what I love. And B has been under my games. I put them through the paces, but I love when they succeed because I want them. My DMing style,
Yeah.
I want you to be the hero.
I don't understand, especially if you're doing like a narrative thing. I don't understand how does just killing
them
the
and
heroes
just wanting to win
make a good story. I don't understand.
Why? Well, I mean, even if you're not running a story game, why is that fun at all?
Yeah.
Why is that fun? My DMing style is I want people to be the hero because that's cool as fuck. I want people to be cool as fuck. If you ever play in one of my games, I'm going to make sure that you get to be cool as fuck. It's been a while since I've DM'd. You haven't gotten that chance. Maybe someday.
No,
we'll see.
It'll never happen.
It's fun to play with a DM that can play as an adversary and then cheer for the players when they win. D&D and TTRPGs are meant to be a collaborative experience. It's much more than just this combat. I hope your latest games embrace that sentiment and you're enjoying them, to which OP responded, thank you, I definitely set myself up to not have the same kind of environment. In my campaign, it's so much less stressful that way. I love my Theros campaign. They're playing a Theros one, nice. And my players, I have my own mental health problems, and I've learned that if it's a bad night, it's just time to reschedule. I've been happy in my current games, both as DM and as player, and I definitely love the collaboration aspect of them. Very happy for you, OP. Make sure you keep doing what you're doing. We're going to go to the last two stories. They're a little light-hearted compared to these, I hope. But good for them. They're doing pretty good now. This one, it's a little lighter-hearted. Does have a bigotry warning if you don't like bigotry and stuff like that.
Hi, welcome to TTRPG space where people suck.
People suck.
Mainly men. Men suck.
But it's... This one just sounds a little more like this guy's just an idiot. The tagline here at the top in quotations is, it doesn't count because she's a girl. This just screams naivete and dumb, some 20-year-old punk ass who just doesn't get the fucking world. So hopefully we'll get it there, but there is a bigotry warning. So if that kind of stuff makes you uncomfortable, come back. This one's a little shorter, 5 minutes.
I don't know if they put the tag in it, but if it's the story that I remember, that one also has essay in it, so make sure to...
This one also does. Hang on, let me...
They didn't tag it?
Oh, just a touch.
All right, so there's some essay in it too.
There's just it's a little groping. It's all in character. It's not like real life, but it's still an uncomfortable thing. But this one's super short. The DM advertised his campaign as being LGBTQ safe space. My dumbass signed up. The problem player was an enchantment wizard going the whole femme fatale route. I should have seen the first red flag from the...
Is the player... Wait, so who's the player? The player... They haven't mentioned...
The player is this enchantment wizard.
That's femme fatale.
They're the femme fatale enchantment wizard. Okay. I should have seen the first red flag from the not safe for work AI art Miss Sarah Bellum ripoff. That was their character portrait. I didn't think much of it at the time.
No, immediately I would have been like, no.
Yeah. That's my next character.
No,
but they will be the opposite.
I don't care.
They'll be the opposite.
Look, I don't shame people for what they want to look into, but there's a time and place, and that's not the time or place.
I'm doing it. It's in stone now. First damn session, they attempt to seduce a cute barkeep. DM lets them roll persuasion. The roll fails.
I need to know this is a man playing this character too.
It appears to be a man.
This is going to be a man.
That's the thing. Is it's a man trying to be sexy lady.
This is a man who has always things to talk. Man, if I was a chick, I would have sex with everyone.
I just fuck everyone.
I would have sex with everyone.
It's got big incel energy.
Yeah.
DM lets them roll persuasion. The roll fails. The barkeep is flattered but not interested. In spite of that, they continue attempting to flirt with this barkeep insistently, even though it's clear at that point that some of us I know I certainly was, were getting uncomfortable with this blatant flirting that was bordering on harassment.
Yeah.
The DM doesn't say shit and still has the barkeep be polite and flattered. Eventually, after seemingly not getting what they want, they use the Enchantment Wizard subclass feature Hypnotic Gaze to charm the barkeep. The DM says it only works for 1 turn, aka 6 seconds. They say that's fine. They proceed to describe how they're kissing and groping. At that point, I and the others are like, bro, what the fuck? Good for them for saying something. The DM still doesn't put a stop to it. Instead, role plays out how the barkeep regains her wits and is a blushing mess, which, in a magic world, if I compel someone into something, I'm not going to be a blushing mess. I'm going to pull out my knife and stab them. The DM doesn't put a stop to it. They're a blushing mess. After the kiss, suddenly she's more receptive to sexual advances. And I'm like, that's fucking assault. And I shit you not, the DM said, it doesn't count because she's a girl. Needless to say, I left the server. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, they got roofied.
Yeah,
They
like
were
that's
they
a
were
magic
roofied.
roofie. It's
They
a magic
literally
roofie.
got roofied.
Yeah.
Who in
It
their
doesn't
mind?
count because they're both girls, Cole. That's what you don't understand.
This is like the same argument that men can't be
Right.
sexually harassed because they're men.
Because they're men. Yeah. It's fucking weird.
Dude, who are these people?
They're
What
weird.
cesspit do they come out of? I don't understand. Like, I don't
It's
understand
fucking weird.
how they go through life. And I know they've interacted with women. I know they have. How do you interact with any woman?
I'm assuming they've got a mama somewhere.
They had to have a mama. And
Your
they
mama
don't,
didn't teach you better than this?
I guess, dude, I just
Your
don't.
mama didn't teach you?
I just don't get it. Like, how do you? Even if you're not good, like, even if you're like intimidated, let's say you're shy, you can't really
Right.
talk to the opposite gender because
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty, I feel so bad. You
That's
still
okay.
would probably be like, how do you not recognize as another human being? Like, I just
Right.
don't get it. Like,
See,
it's
and
just,
that's like, that's the thing is like, these guys just suck.
they
Right?
just suck.
They just suck. It's not that they're awkward. They just fucking suck. I was a shy, awkward kid.
Yeah.
When I was a young dude, teenage, even into my early 20s, I couldn't talk to women very well. I'm shy and I get a little tongue tied,
Mhm.
and I wasn't like that because
No.
like they're people. They're people. If you didn't know that, women are people.
Yeah. But it's
fucking
crazy.
wild. So stupid.
It hurts my head.
They've got big incel energy. I don't think there's much more to say. They've
really
got big
isn't,
incel
dude.
energy. They need to grow up. They need to just grow up. Jesus.
Put in timeout.
I don't even. Are there any good comments to this? I think it's going to be all the same. Yeah, gender and sex have nothing
How
to
do
do
you
whether
put
or not you commit
LGBTQ
sex
safe
assault.
space
And
you don't
then-
respect women?
And then be like, it doesn't count because they're both girls.
Can women not be like? Are you? They just want to watch women kiss, dude. That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
They just wanted to listen to women make out.
Here's a good comment. That safe space doesn't sound too safe. And there's a few under safe for creeps apparently.
Yeah.
It's an LGBTQ safe space. They didn't say anything about sexual assault safe space. Oh my god. PSA: women can commit sexual assault too. It's just as bad as when women do it. Yeah, that's the flavor. Everyone's incredulous as much as we are. These guys need to grow up. Grow up if you're those guys. We're gonna go to the last story.
I can't take it.
Very
anymore.
short. This one has the lighthearted tag. An old DM of mine ran traveling sequences in real time. Wait, what? Hold on. This is from Kaiser von Fluffenberg from about a month ago.
Okay. They're still traveling.
They're still traveling, probably. So this was about 1.5 years ago. And depending on the world, you're still traveling.
They just got there.
1.5 years ago, and this particular player, who's actually a really nice guy, albeit a strange D&D player, is still part of our group, but no longer DMing. Now, as Dungeon Master, he had a few strange quirks. For example, he insisted we have extremely long shopping sprees at the start of session. Combat would last literal sessions sometimes, and he sometimes played Fallout while running a session.
The fuck?
This guy's autism coded, and I don't say that in a disrespectful way. It's just autism coded, and that's perfectly fine. It's okay.
Even then though, like, why are you playing Fallout while DMing?
Oh, a better question is how are you able to do that?
That's what I mean. Like, how do you pay attention to both?
That's like autism savant. Like that's impressive. It's impressive. That's good. But everybody seemed to be okay with it though. It's just kind of quirky.
I guess so, yeah.
One of the strangest quirks he had was that when he was doing a travel sequence, he would sometimes just sit in silence for around 15 minutes. And when we were asking him, "Are we there yet?" his answer was almost, and sat in silence a little longer. I love this guy. We all thought this was a bit strange, but eventually I realized it's because he was actually giving time for our characters to reach their destination instead of just cutting to the arrival at the location. Eventually, we as a group decided to give him some advice on his DMing, and he made the effort to really improve. The last part of his campaign was amazing, and everyone really enjoyed it. He sometimes even runs one-shots when I, the current DM, am unable to attend. It's so cool to see how far his storytelling skill has come. But I can't help but think and laugh thinking back at some of his more peculiar eccentricities. But this dude's a legend. This dude's a Giga Chad.
This man just would go like, yeah, I think the distance for this is like San Antonio to Dallas, so we're gonna be here for 4 hours. And he just sat there in silence.
Yeah, they're going from Mudville to Stonetown. That's about 5 miles. They're galloping on horses at top speed. And he just kicked back like this.
He's sitting there calculating in his mind.
He's got his eyes closed, and it's just like horse noises in his head.
He's playing Fallout with them. He's like, they have to move. It takes this long to travel Fallout, so.
Yeah, they're going. He hears from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the coconuts.
The coconuts.
He's just sitting back like,
dude.
15 more minutes, guys. This guy's a legend. I like this guy. They all liked him. They all had a good time and a good laugh about it. And he took notes and improved. That's good D&D.
That's good D&D right there.
That's good shit.
No, yeah, that seems like someone who like is really creative. They just don't.
Yeah.
They don't know how to.
And that's partially why I say a little autism coded, because they seem just a touch unaware, and that's okay. They took advice. They learned, and they said the end of their campaign was awesome. That's just good fucking D&D all around. Everybody had a good time. They had a little laugh. It wasn't laughing at him. It was laughing together. That's good D&D. And I love to see these stories. It's a shame that it's so short, because I would have loved to hear more of the fun
Maybe he had a wolf
stuff. He had a wolf wall.
Or a wolfator.
Or a wolfator. Those are real things from our games. Hey, that's the end of our stories. Let's see if there's any good comments. Do you have any good thoughts while I'm looking?
No, just that's the appropriate way to do it. When you're when your DM is having some weird things, just be like, hey, not trying to bust your balls here, but this stuff is kind of weird. I don't want to sit here for 20 minutes of silence as we travel. That just isn't fun for us. And then as a DM, be ready to receive some feedback as well. Like, just be prepared.
There's a good comment. Next time his players take a long rest, the DM and the rest of the players just stare silently for 8 hours. It'd be excruciating, but
what
totally worth it.
What if they couldn't take a long rest until they got off for the night?
The only way to take a long rest is when the session ends.
And he's like, all right.
That's the end of the session.
You'll sleep till we're back.
That's pretty fun.
Oh my gosh.
The OP responded, that would be amazing. I'm sure to get the group in on this.
This reminds me of a fun story. A friend of mine named Jay, we were playing, I don't know if you played this. This is not D&D, but it's a board game. Have you ever played this game called Hues and Cues, where it's a board of a different several hues of colors.
Oh yeah, I heard about this.
And someone has to, the guy who's trying to get you to guess colors gives a one-worded hint to describe what that color might be. So if it's purple, you might say grape. He has a color, He stares at this rainbow board of all different hues, and he goes, paint.
Jay.
Paint!
Jay.
He could have said rainbow, and it could have been just as helpful.
Jay. We're going to send this clip to Jay.
Me and another friend were just like, are you kidding us right now?
B, what's the timestamp? Clip this and send it to Jay. Man said paint.
Paint.
Love you, Jay. You're a good dude. Hey, thanks for joining us for a little D&D Reddit stream. We're doing some Reddit stories. We'll be doing more of these. I enjoy reading them. It's a good time.
You want me to say something?
Do you have any words? Or?
Yeah. Don't be an asshole.
Don't be
and
an
thank you for
asshole.
watching. Make
Don't
sure
be
to
an
check our
incel.
YouTube.
Check our YouTube out.
A link in description on TikTok.
Check out our TikTok. Check out our Facebook. It's our biggest one so far. Our biggest platform.
Yeah.
Got a lot of people there. A lot of bros.
We're waiting for me to hit the end button.